Hi, my name is Skylar, and my story is one of many. My addiction started because when I was 17 to 25, I was in a relationship with a man and I felt like I was under somebody's thumb my entire adulthood. So when I was finally single for the first time in my adult life, I felt like I had missed out on a lot of my teenage years and my party years. And to me, my misconception of partying was using drugs and drinking and music festivals and all that glamour that I thought was behind that. So when I was 25 and I became single for the first time in my adult life, I started going to like music festivals, and there was a lot of drugs in that scene. And I started using cocaine here and there a couple times a month. I thought I had it under control. And I was actually on a medication to control my symptoms for ADHD, and they misdiagnosed me for bipolar disorder and cut my ADHD medication in half to add a mood stabilizer, and I didn't quite feel right anymore. So I realized that when I did cocaine, I thought I was feeling normal again. At first it wasn't like a lot, it was here and there, and it just gradually became more and more, and the dependency grew. And then one day my boyfriend and I got this really horrible idea to try crack cocaine. And at the time, I didn't realize that that was my fatal mistake. My whole world spun downhill from that moment. It ensued 4 years of really severe crack cocaine addiction, to the point where I lost custody of my 7-year-old, and I spiraled further into the addiction. And then in 2019, I realized I was pregnant with my younger son, and my boyfriend and I really wanted to get clean, but I was too ashamed to ask for help. And what ended up coming of that was another DCS case and losing my son. And honestly, it really kills me to admit that my kids weren't enough for me to get clean. They are a big reason why I stay clean, but they weren't enough for me to get clean. And I tried for the next 2 years. I tried to get clean, and February 13th, 2022, I woke up around a little before 9 p.m. I had been at my mom's all day with my kids. And when I got home, I had a migraine, and I laid down and went to sleep. And I woke up shortly before 9 p.m. and I rolled over to wake up my boyfriend, and he was not responsive. And I went to shake him, and when I touched him, he was cold. I immediately knew, like, I knew what had happened. And I had asked my roommate, like, did you give him heroin? Because he had been clean from heroin for well over a decade. And I'll never know what possessed him to pick it up that day, but I will never forget calling 911 and asking her and looking her dead in the face, saying, "Did you give him heroin?" And her nodding yes, and my whole world fell apart. And I remember I was driving to the hospital, and I called my best friend and I said, "Joe overdosed," and she said, "Well, he's gonna be okay." And the first thing I said was, "No, Joe's dead." I knew he was dead. I spent the next 11 days wide awake. I used so much. I was scared to close my eyes because all I could see was him. It was the 11th, or it was the 9th day that my boyfriend's mom, she came to get my car because it was in Joe's name. I had to go into the estate, and she said, like, look at you look terrible. And from what I heard, she went home and she paced the house, and she told her husband, I can't leave her like that. Joe wouldn't want me to leave her like that. And I agreed to let her take me to regional. And so it was the 11th day. She took me to regional, and I detoxed for 5 days. And I 100% believe that's what saved my life. But then I got out of regional and I relapsed in the parking lot. And I used the entire night. And the next morning I was sitting in my drug dealer's car, and I get a call from Joe's mom that said I needed to call my 7-year-old's dad. She said Connor was okay, but I needed to call him. And I called him, and he told me that while I was in the psych ward, Connor had been airlifted to Riley's hospital for choking on a quarter. And they were scared to tell me because they were afraid. Everyone was walking on eggshells around me. They thought if I knew I was going to be dead. People were waiting the entire 2 weeks after Joe died for the news that I was dead too. And I got off the phone and I realized I was so worried about what I was going through, and I was so worried and not about numbing my pain, that I didn't know what was going on with my kids. And people were afraid to tell me what was going on with my kids. And I got off the phone, and that's when I called Heartland. And Jamie, I talked to Jamie, and Jamie said, can you come in tomorrow? I said, yeah, of course. I was desperate, and there's nothing like the gift of desperation when you're an addict. I was spending the day with the same people I didn't need to spend the day with, and I get a call from Joe's dad now, and he said, did you stay clean since you got out from regional? And I told him, honestly, no, I haven't. He said, I would really, really appreciate it if you would go somewhere else. So I called my friend, and I asked her if she could, if I could come stay with her, if she could pick me up. And it was about 7:30 on March 2nd, 2022. She pulled in the driveway, and I put the drugs down for the last time. And I got in her car, and I never looked back. The next day, I came in for my evaluation at Heartland, and I remember I was running late, and I called Jamie, and I'm like, can I still come in? Can I still come in? And she's like, of course you can come in. So I got here, and Greg and an intern named Crystal did my intake, and I knew, like, I was so dead set on going to an inpatient program because I felt like that's what I needed to get this right. I needed to just be away from everything and be in this inpatient setting to where I had no ability to get my hands on those things. But when I sat down and did that evaluation, it was so thorough and in depth. And it was the kind of evaluation that I had always thought that I needed to have, the kind that I thought would really make a difference in my treatment for anything, my mental health, my addiction. And when I got done with that evaluation with Heartland, I realized like this was the place I needed to be. And we're walking out, and they said, we really think we can help you. Can you come back tomorrow to start? So March 4th, it was a Friday, and I will never forget that day. I came in, and it was the first day of the new part of my life. And I used to say all the time to Heartland, to the people in Heartland, that you guys saved my life. And for a long time I didn't believe it, but they would always tell me, we didn't save your life, you did. You did by asking us for help. But the things that I got out of Heartland and the things that I learned about myself, it gave me the ability to save my life. It gave me the tools I needed to get out of where I was. Because I remember times when I would be sitting on my living room floor crying, like, why can't you get help? Why can't you get out of this? And it wasn't until like they say you got to hit your rock bottom, but you don't hit your rock bottom until you stop digging. And I stopped digging when I had finally lost everything and realized I was so close to not. I lost the love of my life, and then I was losing my child. My son could have died, and I wouldn't have known because I was so wrapped up in what I was doing. My makeup's all over my face. But then I came to Heartland. I started at Heartland, and I've been here for a lot of people's first days, and I can't say that a whole lot of people's first days were a lot like mine. I was so excited to start, and a lot of people are nervous and stuff, but I walked in ready because I knew like it was the beginning of my new life. And the things that Heartland really strives to instill in their clients make a world of difference. I had been through other rehabilitation programs, and honestly, the one I went through, the inpatient I went through, I relapsed 3 hours after I left, and only because I couldn't 3 minutes after. But Heartland, I came here to the partial hospitalization program, and I'm able to go home at night, and I still was able to go home and stay clean. And it's because I spent the entire day not talking about drugs, not talking about addiction per se, but talking about the things that cause the addiction. And learning how to cope with the traumas I had been through and the things that I never realized I buried inside that I didn't ever cope with and I never healed from. And it's not just, Heartland's not just a recovery center, it's a family. Like, they are so personal and they care about their clients so much, and you're not just a number. Everywhere else you feel like you're a number. You're just in and out for your money, but Heartland, they'll strive. If you can't afford it, they'll strive to make sure they figure it out. You develop a relationship with the entire staff. They set you up with a therapist that they think will help you the most. And I'm gotta say, the therapist I had in Heartland, I've had several therapists, and my therapist at Heartland is hands down the best match I have ever had in my life. I've gotten so much further with my therapist in Heartland in an hour than I used to get in months from other therapists. And they stick with you, and Heartland's a lifetime program. It's not just come in and come out and goodbye. It's for life. They have, from their partial hospitalization to their intensive outpatient treatment to their outpatient treatment. I mean, I had 15 weeks of treatment here, and I can't say I would have gotten that from any other place. And then now I'm in their alumni program. Like, it's a lifetime program. I have 7.5 months clean now. And I volunteer here every week. Like, I owe so much to Heartland, and I know they say I did it myself, but they worked hard to make sure that I had what I needed to do this myself. I love Heartland, and I'll never leave Heartland. I'll always be a part of Heartland. Yeah.